A weak mind does not accumulate force enough to hurt itself. Stupidity often saves a man from going mad. The words of Oliver Wendell Holmes. By this standard, Democrats, leftists across the board, but let's be more specific for purposes of the discussion, Democrats should be among the sanest people in the world. But judging from their behavior this week, I'm sorry, Mr. Holmes, but this statement is abjectly and self-evidently false. Please witness the speech that took place earlier this week, the not State of the Union address. It was the first speech that Darth Cheeto, the Mango Menace, has given to a joint session of Congress since his reelection. Again, not a State of the Union, but had all the trappings of the State of the Union address. He called it early on. He basically told the Democrats to their face that he was fully aware going in that there was absolutely nothing that he could say that would make them applaud. And as if following directions, mostly as if their behavior was entirely predictable. They lived completely up to expectations. They refused to stand for the improvements in cutting government waste. They refuse to stand for border policy. They refuse to stand for any of the things that you would expect them to refuse to stand for. But behaving like the 7-year-old petulant children that they are, they also refuse to stand for a legitimate and literal cancer patient whose childhood dream was to become a law enforcement officer, who had become a honorary law enforcement officer for a number of different agencies, right out of Houston, Texas, by the way, for my Houston people, and was named an honorary Secret Service agent. They couldn't stand and applaud for a child cancer patient. Likewise, they couldn't be bothered to stand and applaud for a murder victim, a victim of a murder that was enabled by their own open border policies in Lake and Riley, nor another murder victim, Jocelyn Nunbury, who had a wildlife refuge in Texas named after her honor. You may remember that Jocelyn was kidnapped by two Venezuelan savages. I'm sorry, I'm just not going to play the game and call them migrants. Two Venezuelan savages, and dragged under a bridge and raped horribly and repeatedly for hours before finally being mercifully strangled to death. They couldn't be bothered to applaud for that. No, in fact, all they could be bothered was to sit and wave these ridiculous little signs, leaving aside the baseless premise of the. Let's examine this for a minute. And I've got to thank OG Reverend Ranger Dennis Weimer for bringing this up. Musk steals, like, they've been reduced to sound bites. That would have been enough, but now they've been reduced to flashcards. And the most ridiculous of flashcards. We're to believe that a man who is worth close to $500 billion and is working for the government for free is somehow out to steal money from them, from the poor, from working Americans. It's all so very absurd and prima facie absurd. But the people who are devout have been won over by this mentality to the point where I want body armor made out of their cognitive dissonance and confirmation bias, because clearly nothing is ever going to get through that. The polls immediately after, coming from that hardcore right-wing extremist alt-right adjacent site, CBS News, among speech watchers, this is what the audience found. The people that actually sat through and watched the speech, this is what they found. 74% found it presidential, 74% found it entertaining, 71% found it inspiring, 62% found it unifying, and only 46%, all Democrats, no doubt, found it divisive. Same right-wing extremist CBS News poll, of all the people watching, 76% approved of having the one congressman removed from it. And yet you'll remember early on, there was one guy who just refused to sit down and shut up. As it turns out, the congressman in question is, well, he had that secret slush fund for Congress pay off an accuser who had accused him of sexual harassment years ago. But again, he's to be exalted as a saint because he hates the Mango Menace. 76% of the people watching approved of that man being removed from the chamber for refusing to stop interrupting a sitting president. Of all the speech watchers, this was the rating for Americans looking at Trump's plan for wasting government spending. 77% liked his plan. For immigration and the border, a similar 77%. Ukraine and Russia, the one that we're all convinced that we're not even patriots if we don't get behind Ukraine. Trump taking the stand that he did received 73% approval from speech watchers and 65% approved of the much vaunted tariffs that we're taught to be afraid of, that are going to set off a trade war, that are going to cause a collapse of the economy, that are going to drag us into World War III, that are going to have gay people in boxcars, and any number of other horror stories that we're constantly being presented against Trump. And let's not forget that those ends are right around the corner, that yesterday was the beginning of the end, that the administration can feel the walls closing in, and whatever other soundbite you need. In spite of these obvious results, in spite of these undeniable, irrefutable, verifiable results, ODB, objective, demonstrable, provable, ODP, legitimate results to the poll, these people still consider themselves the resistance. It's the damnedest thing. I guess we should expect nothing else after decades of hubris and decades of lack of accountability. But, we got to take a look at not where we were, but where we are. Once upon a time, we used to say that a conspiracy theory is a truth attacked by a chorus of liars. But now it's all come around to where we're forced to observe this, that we need new conspiracy theories because all of the old ones came true. All of the things that they assign to us in our conspiracy theories, that the deep state was behind suppressing the Epstein files, that the deep state was behind the coup that set off the deal in Ukraine, that the deep state was laundering money through USAID and funding left-wing sources and funding left-wing activist groups, and that NGOs were supplied by government money, taxpayer money that was rerouted and laundered. All of these conspiracy theories, it turns out, well, every one of them were true. The conspiracy theory that the United States government, the deep state regime, the advisors that surrounded Biden, because we all know that he wasn't actually making the calls, were working to actively censor conservative opinions and political rivals, actively working to engage in lawfare against political rivals using a weaponized Justice Department. All these conspiracy theories have now come out to be 100% true, so we can no longer call them conspiracy theories. And the worm has turned. Now the people who think themselves the resistance, well, they have to come up with their own conspiracy theories about how none of this is really legitimate, that the people aren't really behind any of the things that were in that speech. And in fact, we're all wrong about everything. And lo and behold, they've got plenty of stuff to fall back on. The resistance is now insisting that, well, trans women's milk is as good as breast milk. That's right. The experts trust the experts, same ones that told us that vaccines were safe and effective and that masks worked and all these other things. Drug-induced chest-feeding liquid coming from biological men is comparable to that from mothers when it comes to nourishing babies. Do I need to go into how depraved and sick and inhuman these people are? It would have been enough to trust the experts on replacing butter with some plant-based oil significantly. Yes, experts, new study finds, Harvard finds, all of the experts. This is the framing, and this is how it's presented. And if you've watched this program for any length of time, you already know that framing is everything. But again, conspiracy theory after conspiracy theory. Only ours were verified, and theirs just keep getting more and more bizarre. The conspiracy theory that somehow Donald Trump has been an agent of the KGB since 1987. in spite of the fact that the Soviet Union fell apart and there is no more KGB. Do I really have to belabor this? Yeah, Trump is a KGB asset. And the more and more bizarre conspiracy theories about Elon Musk, the richest man on the planet who is somehow responsible for, well, everything. He's there to steal your information. He's there to steal your money. He's there to take over the government. He's a de facto agent of whoever it is that you need him to be a de facto agent of. At least our conspiracy theories, I mean, the ones that weren't radically self evident from the get go, at least had a visible kernel of truth that you could hang on to and verify right off the bat. History has a sense of humor, boys and girls. History certainly does have a sense of humor, and we are living through a pivotal point in that history. And thankfully, by the grace of God, we are winning. It feels pretty damn good to be winning for the first time in a long time. When we'd been down for so long, you've heard me say it before, we've been down so long that the bottom looked like up. It feels good to be fighting forward. When they were in charge, even those among their own left wing causes had to ask themselves questions like this. Michael Ware once asked, I ask, how much should being on the right side of history excuse? That was their fallback philosophy, if you guys remember, don't you? It was okay to weaponize the Justice Department. It was okay to censor our media. It was okay to suppress and deplatform people. It was okay to spy on American citizens. It was all on this because it was being done for the right reasons. Our heart was in the right place, and we were going to be on the right side of history. But even their own people had to ask at some point, how much should being on the right side of history excuse? They used it to excuse everything for decades. Now they're on the receiving end, and you got to wonder how it feels. Again, with history having a sense of humor, I'm reminded of this quote from, of all people, Abraham Lincoln. Be sure you put your feet in the right place and then stand firm. Now, we all know how I feel about Honest Abe, tyrant that he was, Sig Semper Tyrannis, but truth is truth, no matter who speaks it. We have put our feet in the right place and we are standing firm. They don't know quite what to do with that. We need to capitalize on that lack of momentum. We need to capitalize on that confusion and take the fight to the enemy. You know, a man once said, in order for us to be on the right side of history, our existence and transformation, rather than our destruction, need to glorify God. We were on the verge of that destruction. We quite literally dodged a bullet, some more literally than others. We were on the verge of that destruction. We would have all been, for lack of a better word, martyred. All of the West, all of the traits of Western civilization would have vanished to the scrap pile of history, gone up as smoldering embers and smoke. Now, we would have gone out as martyrs, which would have been for the glory of God, but instead we have a chance now for our continued existence and transformation, our evolution, our advancement, our growth, our strength, and our ultimate victory. We'll have the chance to glorify God. But let's not forget that iron rule about history. As Harold Kushner once pointed out, history is written by winners. So most history books are about people who win. We are now, for the first time in a long time, in that position of being top dog. We are winning. And we are compelled, morally, ethically, spiritually, to take advantage of that position, abandon all pretense at compromise and bipartisanship, and take the fight to the enemy with the same tenacity that they had taken the fight to us and were prepared to finish us. If we squander this opportunity, we will not get another. And we will find ourselves on that historical scrap pile. Martyrdom is a noble end. but I prefer survival. The opinions expressed by the Reverend are his own and no one else's on the planet. Not friends, not foes, not supporters, not detractors, not sponsors, and I cannot stress this enough. Certainly not employers. I'm still out here in Winnemucca, Nevada, boys and girls. Look it up. That is for the sake of you docs, happy Antifa maggots out there. In any case, the aforementioned opinions have been adjudicated thought crime in all jurisdictions. Consider yourself warned. They are coming from the heart. They are guided by the mind. They are guaranteed to stretch open that unwilling maw and, if necessary, forcefully choke you with fistful after fistful after fistful of the truth cock till your eyes bleed, your intestines rupture, you choke on your own vomit, and you finally accept the reality in front of you, no matter how ugly it is. Welcome back, boys and girls. It's time once again for the Sunday sermon. Happy you made it out. Sometimes realities are hard to embrace. Sometimes they are sweet to embrace. I'm feeling pretty good about where we are. I don't know about you guys, but let's see who's here. Everybody in for the drum roll, please. Let's do it. Hard charging out to the starting gate, as we always rock it out, getting started. The band Red Desert, gut stomping rock and roll band from the smoldering embers and crumbling ruins of the once great American city of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Name of the band is Red Desert. The name of the track is Older No Wiser. Every week I get a little bit older. Every week you guys get to decide if I have gotten any wiser. Some weeks I do better than others. And this program, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll go into it in a moment. We'll do the right thing after we do the roll call, but this is 5 years, man. 5 years we have been doing what started out as a therapy session for my twisted head to get me out of the ups and downs of the COVID pandemic. 5 years of the Sunday sermon, boys and girls, and I'm happy you guys made it. Dennis Weimer taking the gold, making it out first. And by the way, I saw y'all's conversation between Dennis and Roman. Dennis, of course, OG Reverend Ranger, Prophet of Doom, and one of my oldest and dearest friends. Roman, over at opiumtales.com. I saw the conversation you guys were having, and yeah, Roman, me and you trash talking to each other. We haven't played a game of air hockey. You know, it's been over 10 years. I saw the conversation going on. I was like, dude, it has been over 10 years since we played a game of air hockey, and we're terrible trash talking each other to the air hockey table, man. We need to catch up, man. We need to rectify that situation. The OG Sinner Sister herself, the divine Miss Emmy, glad you made it out. And I saw the thing about the diarrhea now spell with no saving roll. It's pretty good. Bill Wade on board. Good to show and Miss M. Bill, I'm glad to see you, brother. I miss you. Let's talk, man. Let's talk, because we got to see each other sooner than later. Deacon Mark on the back porch. They stay on the porch. And Clem is out on the back porch with you guys. One big happy family. Guys, look, don't feel obligated just because you got a group of people out there to have to participate in the Sunday sermon, because I know you got a bunch of folks, good people that are hanging out. I appreciate y'all dropping in, but I'm just saying, if you want to carry on the conversation and take your ass back to the happy little watering hole, I totally get that, man, because those little rattlesnake bites, those little wrapped jalapenos, I would totally get it if you completely skipped out on me. But I appreciate y'all being here. Brother Clem, I'm looking forward to seeing you, man. Just a couple of days out, already got the flight booked, and we are ready to take off. Brother Clem, I'm glad you're here, man. And, of course, Deacon Mark on board, adult sodas with his lovely wife, Ida, and probably some smokable consumables. I may be compelled to have one cigarette while I'm there. Don't say anything to Charlie, and that's when I'm going to roll down and see that she's already here listening. But so far, I made it, man. We are 9 days into the third month of the year, and I have not had a single cigarette since New Year's, which is kind of cool. Feeling pretty good about that. Brother Clem, howdy squad. Just finished Fear Inoculum 2025 seminar. Was awesome. And now I have the honor and privilege to join Deacon Mark on the blessed porch. I love it, man. I hate that I missed Fear Inoculum. I've done Fear Inoculum for the past 2 years running. Hate that I had to miss it this year, but I know that it was productive, and I know transformative is the right word, man. If you guys are out there that are thinking about it, I think next year's is already booked. But look into it, man, because it'll change your life, brother. It will literally change your life. People talk about training, and they love to get out and they want to train with Sonny, and I recommend training with Sonny, regardless, across the board, whether that's hand-to-hand or knife or tactical firearm or whatever. But Fear Inoculum is on a different level, man. It is some life changing stuff. You guys need to get out there. And so go ahead and start looking into it, man. You want to plan ahead, or it's going to be booked up without you. You're not going to have a chance. The Mighty Stone in the house. Live to 3, baby. Still using this webcam and microphone that you picked up for me to advance the cost of the program, man. Still using it. 5 years, man. Can you believe we've been doing this sermon for 5 effing years? That's wild, bro. David on board. Who else we got? Yeah, just rolling down. George made it out. The preacher. Good to see you, man. Wish I lived close to all these great classes offered, bro. Find a way to make it out, George. If you can travel, it's worth the road trip. It is worth the flight. Whatever you got to do, man, to get out there and make it happen. I'm telling you, man, it is, especially for Fear Inoculum, bro. We're talking like serious, life-changing stuff. Ranting Raven on board. Look at this lovely lady. Hello. Mwah. Always nice to see them out here. Yes. Who else we got? Josh Vargas here early. In the midst of all of this, Alex Jones is owed a lot of apologies and needs his sight back. Yes, they destroyed that guy and nothing has been done about it. I don't care how nutty he can be at times. That was a political assassination of his livelihood. You are absolutely correct, brother. And I'm going to, as the bumper music fades out, Josh, I'm glad you pointed that out. In fact, kind of just in time, and then I'll finish out the roll call. Again, man, Red Desert doing the bumper music. Older, No Wiser is the name of the track. You're right about Alex Jones. And Alex is another one of those guys, like very much like what they do with Trump. Everything is the beginning of the end. This is, the walls are closing in. He can feel the pressure. It's the beginning of the end. We are watching the unfurling in real time, blah, 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 blah. And they have the thing where they were going to take his site down. They were going to remove InfoWars and just scour that. And another judge put a halt on that recently. I didn't make a big enough deal out of the thing, but it was legit, man. A judge put a stay on that. This whole multi-billion-dollar settlement that they had for the Sandy Hook victims. He was like, dude, we can't. No, this is completely unreasonable. We're not going to do it. And you're right, man. Regardless of how you feel about Alex, and I should be able to. You know what? I'm going to see what I can do about pulling up one of the old pictures. Because I've got a few, man. I've got a few pictures of me and Alex Jones back in the day, hanging out before he was, the huge deal that he is now. When he was just Alex Jones, lowercase. Now it's now he's Alex Jones. But let me see. I'm sure I've got. What have I got here? Okay, I've got that one. I've got that one that I can put up just real quick, and I could dig for some other ones later. But that is me and Alex Jones at the premiere of 9/11: The Road to Tyranny at the Alamo Draft House in Houston years and years ago. What are some other ones that we've got? Another one floating around. I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time digging this stuff up. Here is another night. This one here is actually me with Alex Jones, and that old man in the middle there is Hutton Gibson. That's right. That's Mel Gibson's dad right there. And yeah, that's me with Hutton Gibson and Alex Jones back in the day. You could see, obviously, we were all much younger then, and some of us are aging better than others. But anyway, yeah. But Vargas, you're right on that Alex Jones tip. We all owe that guy an apology. The mighty Bonsai Bongsa, glad you're here, buddy. Good to see you as well. Let me see here. And gotta get back to the screen. Sorry, man. I'm just trying to navigate. Everything here. But yeah. Neat stuff. We got Joel Allen Jackson on board. Good to see you, Brian, man. Right on. Glad you made it. This is your second week out here in a row, man. I'm very happy to have you on board, man. Again, none of you guys are obligated. I appreciate it when you come out, but I know I can be long-winded. I know I get off on a tear and start ranting and raving about stuff, and man, we all have real lives. So if you just want to duck in for a minute and like catch a little bit of the rant and you got other stuff to do, I get it. I'm just happy that you guys just pop in and check in and just say, hey, man, just say, hey, because that way I don't, I would do this regardless. I did this starting 5 years ago, and we're going to go into that here in a second. Starting 5 years ago, I would have done this when nobody was listening. So just to have you guys just come in and saying hi, cool, appreciate that. Congrats on the 5. What is that? No thoughts on Trump and Putin proposed plan, bro. We're gonna get into a lot of all of that. We're going to get into a lot of all of that. Congrats on 5 years, bro. It's been awesome watching your journey, man. It's been awesome having you guys around. Just wow, this was just my therapy, man. That's how I started up. Forgot it was Sunday. What's happening, beautiful? How you doing, Jake, man? By the way, man, y'all, if y'all can see down here in the corner, which way am I putting? If you can see down here in the corner, you look at Jake down there, dude. Jake, you are looking thick as a brick, son. I don't know what stack you're running right now, but it's whatever it is, bro. It's definitely working out for you. Yeah. And of course, Bone is not posting a picture. Bone should, because Bone is still in remarkably good shape for a guy who, much like the rest of us, is aging. But but it's good to have Bone on board, man. Goodness gracious, man! You want to talk about people going back a ways, man? That was back in the early days of Texas MMA, man. 5 years, man. 5 years. Here we are. Let me get the sponsor shout outs out of the way real quick. Of course, Roman and besides being one of my oldest and dearest friends, man, over at opiumtales.com, doing some beautiful watercolor work, and with some beautiful naked women. They are the erotic pinups and portraits people. He is delisting one book on Amazon. If you already have a copy, then good on you. But he's still got Roman Freely, which is a collection of his work, and he's going to be putting out short fiction coming up really, and I'm interested to see that because all of his creative endeavors um, wind up really damned interesting. Whether it's musically or whether it's art or whether it's this is his first that I'm aware of literary pursuit with regard to fiction, and it's novel stuff. So definitely throw some money at him and pick up the stuff when he comes out with it. Again, Roman Freely, which is a collection of his watercolor work, is still available on Amazon under Roman Riva. And you should check them out over at opiumtales.com. You got beautiful watercolors of beautiful naked women and testosterone driven commentary. That is a Planet Bar trifecta. Also, Nordic Smoke Barbecue, the only legit barbecue in the inland Northwest, period. End of statement. Done. They have the Viking Longship, the smoker trailer, out sailing the asphalt seas, and they are setting up and they are doing catering gigs, and they are always out there. And if you're in the Spokane area, you owe it to yourself to check out the product. And any of you guys come up to the Spokane area just to visit with the old Rev. Once I'm done with this crane gig and I'm back up in the Spoke, we will definitely make it a point to partake in some of the wonderfulness that is Nordic Smoke Barbecue. And again, check out Casey's book. You have Casey and Dusty, the two Viking brothers, the Tellison brothers there at Nordic Smoke Barbecue. Dusty is still running the smoker. Casey has moved on. He is past the bar. He's a practicing attorney now, and he's got a book out on Amazon as well called Freaks of a Feather that has gained recognition. He got invited to have dinner with Mad Dog Mattis. Yeah, Mad Dog Mattis, who is also from the Pacific Northwest. He lives up there in Washington State. So drew the attention of that and several other people that have been, people that he's been into, or authors that he's been into for a long time. In any case, Freaks of a Feather is a combat memoir that started out as a suicide note. Again, that should be all the lead in, a combat memoir that started out as a suicide note. Yeah, wow. I want to check that out. Definitely check it out. And you can talk to anybody over, which side am I pointing at? Sorry, I always got to pay attention because, like, on my screen, it's actually over here. But to point at it for you guys, I got to point this way. But ask anybody over here in the comments who's read that book. Casey is a phenomenally gifted writer, and that book will take you. That book will take you on a walk, man, through a very, very dark place, both psychologically and the dark places that he had to go physically to get to that dark place psychologically. It is, bro, it's there's not much. I can't really do it justice. The man is a phenomenally talented writer. So check out that book. Take care of the people who are taking care of me, who are taking care of the program. It's easy to do when I've got a gig and I'm working and I can do this as a labor of love, like on my, and so you guys know over the course of 5 years, there've been times where I had to go like over a month without doing a sermon because I was working one that was like a 7/12 kind of gig, or working 13 on, 1 off, or whatever it is. Uh, and when I'm doing that, it's cool. It's easy to manage. And on the in between, I would do this for free. But you guys that are taking care of the program, take care of the people that take care of the program, is basically what I'm saying. You guys that kick down and help me out personally, I love y'all for that. Thank you. God bless y'all for everything you're doing. You want to throw money, throw money at Roman, man. Throw money at Casey and Dusty. If you're in Spokane, go get some barbecue. If you're not, pick up the book. You know what I mean? Because this is right now. I'm working. I can get by. I don't need it. You want to chuck the money? It's like it's yes, I appreciate it. Don't ever feel like I'm being ungrateful. But you can kick it to these guys because ultimately they're taking care of me too. Just we're building community here. And that goes beyond, while I'm on this subject here, beyond just a little bit of cash here and there. A lot of you guys live close to each other, right? All of my Houston guys, you're there, you're closer together. There's no reason why you guys shouldn't get to know each other. Maybe the personalities conflict, you know what I mean? I'm not saying everybody's going to be the best of friends or everybody's going to hit it off or everybody's going to be everybody's cup of tea, but there's no reason why you shouldn't at least know these people, at least having met them. Go have a cup of coffee. All you guys that are in the Houston area that are watching this thing, go have a cup of coffee together. My guys in Spokane that are there when I'm there, go have a cup of coffee, man. Get to know each other, because that's one thing. A little sip of liquid enthusiasm here. The one thing that we are lacking, and when I say we, there's no. We don't have to get into specific we's, like we conservatives, we Christians, we MMA guys, we whatever. Just the whole network. We're missing a sense of community, man. We are badly missing that. And people and institutions with nefarious intent, the one way to secure their ability to get inside and manipulate is when people are lacking a sense of community. That is one of the things that, and I'm getting really grandiose here for a minute, if you guys will indulge me, but Western civilization failing because we have taken away the things that used to bring us together as a community, whether it was a sense of cultural identity, right? And or I'll say it, nobody wants to use the R word, but even racial identity, right? Cultural, racial identity, religious identity, any of the things that brought us together as a community, any of the things that bonded us together and gave us common ground, that gave us something that we all had to talk about. We have been stripped of that. Um, and not even necessarily stripped of that. Some of us gave it away voluntarily. Some of us, uh, and I'm sad to say it, but we gotta call it out for what it is. They were very weak. They were very weak in spirit. They were very weak in will, and they bristled at the thought that somebody might think that they were whatever it was. Oh, it's not okay. It's not okay to be Christian or Catholic. Oh well, I don't want people thinking I'm one of those weirdos. It's not okay to have value for your own culture or your own race. Oh, that's not okay. Somebody's going to think I'm a bigot. Oh well, I better shut my mouth. And and again, and Joey. First of all, Joey, I'm glad you made it out. The Sultan of Sarcasm has joined us just in time. A faithless society is a low trust society. There you go. Without that sense of community, there's no communication, there's no trust, there's nothing to bond, and it's easy to split up groups like that. And you split them, you take away their power. And now, largely organically, I'm seeing this with all of the subcultures that come together that are representing the interest of what's generally considered to be Western civilization. I see it all coming together again. Those elements are coming back, and of course, I'm going to lean on. Of course, I'm going to lean on the faith. Of course I am, because I walk in the faith, and that's But that's not even necessarily. I mean, that's not mandated, right? All of the cultural standards of what we've always understood to be the values of Western civilization. Organically, it's coming back together. We're getting that cohesion back. And it terrifies, absolutely terrifies the hell out of those people in the globalist power structure. And I'm glad that I just reminded myself of that, because I'm hoping I can actually download this if I took the time. There we go. Yes, bang. Um, that was originally going to be part of the opener. But all the things that are coming together now, and they're having to be more and more naked about the ways that they're controlling things. If you can disguise that you're deliberately taking away people's freedom, if you can couch it somehow. But the more naked you get about taking away, when you finally when you're compelled to come out and go, well, that's who you want to vote for, but screw you because you can't have that. Okay, or I know you want to listen to this guy, but he's banned now, so you can't. You know, the more naked they get with that, the more people have to buck. Here in the United States, we're very, very fortunate because we still possess that same, in small amounts, right? They nearly acculturated that out of us, uh, but we still possess the same spirit that inspired the Boston Tea Party, that inspired, the American Revolution in the first place. And so there is still enough of that rebellious spirit that we kind of dug in our heels. We saw our freedom getting taken away. We saw elections getting manipulated. We saw outright censorship going on, and we thumped our chests and went, "Whoa, hold up, Sparky! This ain't gonna fly here." And we pushed back. Europe is getting to that point as well. And I know I'm like way off on a tear here, but deal with it. This is something that happened, and this wasn't one of my bullet points, but Georgescu. You guys remember Kelly Georgescu? We talked about him last week. In Europe, he won the first round of the Romanian elections, right? And the EU overturned the elections. So they're going into the second round. They said that the first one was manipulated, and that he didn't really have that following, that the elections were manipulated, and so not only are we going to overturn the election, but we're going to put him in jail. They've released him from jail. They're getting ready for another series of elections in Romania, and he's leading in every poll. So basically, they just came out and said, no, we're not going to let you run, because if you run, you're going to win. If they would, look what they tried to do to Donald Trump. That is exactly what they tried to do to Donald Trump. If we can convict him of insurrection, if we can paint him as an insurrectionist, we will try to keep him off the ballot in certain states. And they tried everything because they knew he was going to win. If he were able to run, he was going to win. There was no way around it. The people were solidly behind him. Again, looking at all the things that we went over in the opener, just the response, and you guys already saw it. You saw the response to the speeches, the approval, all of these things, in spite of nonstop manipulation by the propaganda machine. He's still top dog. He's what the people want. Another European once said that nothing can stop the power of an idea whose time has come. We don't need to get into which European that was that said that, but if you know, you know. In any case, they took Georgescu completely off. They said, no, you can't run. They did the same thing to Bolsonaro in Brazil. You remember? That was a tightly contested election that, if you are an astute and devout observer of what went on there, you can make a very, very, very good case that Bolsonaro had that election stolen. And when his people who had voted, who in the majority of the Brazilian people who wanted that man in office, and the globalists basically said, you can't have him, and they took to the streets. And what, in a January 6th-esque sort of way, they marched to demonstrate, and they painted them as insurrectionists and all of these things. And they basically stuck Bolsonaro in jail for a minute and made it to where, by Brazilian legal standards, he can't run again for what, 5 years, 10 years? I wish Carlo were here, because Carlo's got a much better peg on that than I do. In any case, all of these things are happening. Right? This is happening all over the world. Look what happened with the AfD in Germany, right? That They took the second place in the election, the total number and the parliamentary House seats and everything like that. And what did the globalist interests do? The globalist interests, they kick back and they say, okay, cool. Clearly, a lot of German citizens wanted these ideas represented, but it doesn't matter. We're not going to work with them. And when we're putting together the coalition in parliament, we're just going to act like this never happened, right? The next time around, when it comes to those elections, what do you suppose is going to happen? Even more people are going to throw in behind the AFD, and eventually they're going to have to just nakedly get out and say, no, no, sorry. I know this is what the people want, but screw you. We're not going to allow these people to run. When you look at what they tried to do to Giorgia Meloni in Italy, and by the way, oh, Meloni, she's so dreamy. Anyway, uh, they had to paint her up as Mussolini in drag, dude. They said whatever they needed to paint her up as the new breed of Italian fascism and yada yada yada, whatever it was they needed to sell to get that point across, and it was nearly successful, but she won. So what does the propaganda ministry do? They turn on the F word, man. Fascism, 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 fascism. And what has happened? Her regime's been extremely successful. All of those policies have been successful. Javier Milei, you guys know about Javier Milei, right? South American guy, total nut job, brush your hair, dude, whatever. He came in with some radical ideas, and they were like, "This guy's going to be a joke, and he's going to go down in flames." And he went in the same way a certain orange fella and his South African buddy are went in with a chainsaw and just started cutting government offices loose all over the place. It was unbelievable, but everything worked. All of these policies, they were like, you can't just fire half of federal government employees. The whole thing's gonna fall apart. What happened? What happened? Inside of a year, he's got balanced budget and a budget surplus. Everything's humming along. Welfare rolls have been cut. The economy's booming. GDP is up. Oh yeah, but well, you can do that maybe in some little South American country, but you can't do that in Europe. Okay, Giorgia Meloni, bang, implements all his policies, everything's humming along. Viktor Orban in Hungary, you can't just block people and close off your border and not let any immigrants in, blah blah blah. Okay, well, he did, and what happened? No terrorist attacks, right? Orban's Hungary is prospering right now. Orban will not get behind Ukraine. Poland is right, shares a border with Ukraine, right? But enough of the Polish people don't want any of this. The whole thing is falling apart. This is happening all over the world. And I'm not, am I angry? Uh, yeah, obviously, when you have authoritarian regimes and globalist authoritarian regimes and mhm, the sinister demographic groups that are behind some of those things doing the things that they've always done, is it infuriating? Obviously. But the beauty of it is we're winning in spite of all of it. Everything that they're pulling out, we're winning. There's nothing they can do. And as long as we stay at it and we capitalize on the momentum that we have, particularly right here in the United States, we continue to win, man. We continue to win. We continue moving forward. This we continue to make this machine run and run well. Good old hobby. Yeah, I knew Vargas was going to be a fan. Houston fam, I posted my number. Shoot me a text. I'm yours. Happy to have coffee or cold one soon enough. Right on, man. See, this is what I love right here. Dennis, almost like jailing your opponents to keep them from winning makes them more popular. And that, Dennis, I'm glad that you pointed that out because that is exactly. And Roman, by the way, has a lot of friends in Romania. Everyone I know in Romania is voting for him. Of course, I would submit to you that the majority of Romanians, that duly elected him the first time, are going to vote for him again. He's leading in all the polls. It's the same thing that you remember what the Brits did with Brexit, right? We're going to talk about, yeah, they're not going to pull out of the European Union. Let's let them have their little election. What? What, they voted to leave? Oh no, that's not right. That's not right. We got to have a do-over. Okay, okay, guys, and we're gonna put this up on the ballot again, and you know what to do, right? It's a free election. You just vote what you want. Okay, just vote. What, they voted to leave again? Uh, this is where rhetoric gives way. right? So we steal ourselves with things instead, spiraling out of control. Yeah, I know, Joey. Circling the drain, circling the drain, circling the drain. But I'm going to say this to you, Joey. I'm going to say this to you, bro. And I'm going to say this to you because I love you. All the conversations that we've had, bro. Um, yeah, I get that damper that you have, that reluctance for anything approximating optimism, man. I get it. Probably just gonna steal it again anyway. Yeah, I get it, bro. But we keep winning. We keep winning, Bubba. We keep winning. And I understand. I understand. I see where you are, bro. I see where you are. And I get it because I was there for a long time myself. But right now, bro, we're winning. Right. And you gotta come clean on that one. The Rev was right. The Rev was right. We're gonna win this thing. We're gonna keep winning this thing. Because that uphill fight, man, that uphill fight, that's what we're here for, bro. That's what we're here for. And it's easy for me to say again, being a person of faith, it's easy for me. It's easy for people like me, for people like George here. And you're right, George. Sometimes you do need a strong man. Uh, it's uh, we win. you know, we read the book. Sorry, man. Spoiler alert. We win. But again, even if you don't share that, you gotta look at the signs, man. You gotta look at the signs. We are getting these are huge things. The fact that it's making an impact on this sort of level, when you have a machine that the sole purpose of the propaganda machine, right? 24/7 is to push that authoritarian narrative, to push the regime position, to push the globalist position. That is what they're there to do. CBS, right? Corporate control, advertisers control, all of these things. And CBS in their own poll, CNN after the Trump speech, their own poll, right? We're going to call some people real quick and let's see how the people feel about it. And lo and behold, boom. How do the people feel about it? They're behind what he's doing, right? Preacher, sometimes you do need a strong man, bro. Sometimes, George, you're absolutely right. Sometimes you do need a strong man. And that even got painted as something that we weren't even allowed to express as a historical truth, a self-evident historical truth. We weren't even allowed to speak of it. Sometimes you do need a strong man. Look at what is going on right now in Syria, right? Assad, strong man, yes. Dictator, yes. Murderer, yes. Kill political opponents, yes. All the above, right? He did that. You know what else he did? Protected Syrian Christians, right? Uh, and he was enough in the same sense that a certain Mr. Hussein in Iraq once upon a time, nobody's singing their praises, nobody's saying that is what we would want for a leader here in the United States of America. But damn it, sometimes when you're dealing with specific populations, you need a strong man. Sometimes because of the time that you're in and the circumstances surrounding it, you need a strong man, because compromise is not going to work. Are there inherent dangers with that? You bet your ass there are inherent dangers with that. But when the alternative is the death of the West, I'll roll the dice. I will definitely roll the dice. It's all coming together, man. It's all coming together. These far right, extreme, all over. This is, what do you think's going on there? You think, everything now is the Russians are manipulating. What, you think the Russians are doing this everywhere all at once? Right? The Russians are interfering in elections in Germany and Italy and Romania, in the United States of America, all at one time. That's how it, again, and I gotta pull this up too, man. I hate to keep tagging things on here, but I just would hate I would hate for you guys to miss out on this one, because it's my new cover art, and I think it's fantastic, man. I think it's a fantastic little point here. Let me get this uploaded. Here we go. Rossophrenia, a condition where the sufferer believes Russia is both about to collapse and take over the world. So they're a paper tiger, right? Putin's again. Putin can feel the walls closing in. All the same things they said about Trump and every other leader all over the planet that they don't like. Trump, Putin, beginning of the end, and can feel the pressure and the walls are closing in, and the people are turning against him, and a shift in public opinion, and going to be something from the inside out. All these things that they've been telling us, right? He's a paper tiger. He can't even defeat little old Ukraine. Little old Ukraine's nothing. The vaunted Russian army, they can't even take on little baby Ukraine. But at the same time, thank God Ukraine's there, because if it weren't for Ukraine, they would just bowl over and take all of Europe. What's missing here? Like, is it that you have no sense of history? Is it that you have no sense of balance? That you have no sense of perspective? Is your geography game that weak? Like, what is it? Did you not live through, or at least have read something, living through the ass end of the Cold War? All these things. Oh boy, yeah, I'm on a tear, man. I'm on a tear. But that's where we are, man. That's where we are. All of this stuff that is all going down, and it's all coming together all at once. It is a revival, man. It is a revival. Do you feel that? Not just this kind of revival, not just that kind of revival. Although, and when we get into the 21 Coptic Christians, man, when we get into the story about the martyrs, you guys are going to really dig that. But beyond this, right? It's a revival of the West, man. We are rediscovering ourselves again. Do you understand the importance of that? People in Europe are going, wait a minute, we are European nations. We are European nations that are grounded in European cultural standards and values, and we're being overrun. Our women are being raped, our sons are being murdered. And now, out of nowhere, these people that supposedly were our leaders, who won't protect us from this invasion of mongrel hordes from foreign countries, that won't do anything about the rape gangs taking advantage of little girls in Britain, that won't do anything in Sweden about the mob rapes that are going on in Sweden and in Germany and other places, all of which are being committed by immigrants, let me say it again, all of which are being committed by immigrants, all of which are being committed by immigrants. They won't protect them from any of this. They won't protect their own women, but they're ready to send their boys to go off and fight and die for Ukraine? What? What? At some point, no matter how much the propaganda ministry moves in one direction, no matter how powerful the tools are that they have at their disposal to sway somebody's opinions, no matter how consistent their messaging is, at some point you just got to look and go, dude, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. No amount of trust the experts, for instance, the thing that we had in the opener, no amount of trust the experts is going to make any thinking human being not hesitant, at the very least, about this. To take a biological male, feed him hormones until he develops breasts and starts to lactate, and say that an infant sucking on that is going to be as properly nourished as a biological woman and her breast milk. And yet, there are people out there that will throw this article up in your face and insist that it's totally the same. At some point, you just got to go, okay, enough. And just go on about your business. Disengage with these people, go forward, do right, live in truth, walk in truth, speak the truth, and be unafraid of truth. And if they get in the way, walk over them. Simple. They will always fall back at that point on, what about compromise? This Jesus that you're behind, he was all about love your neighbor and this and stop. You don't read the book, you don't believe it, you don't get to throw that up on me. You don't get to throw that at me when suddenly I'm disputing you politically, right? Are you the one that said religion has no place in politics? Well, then you need to shut the hell up. Stay out of my way, man. Stay out of our way. Because we're going. We're going. Truth is on the march right now, bro. All the stuff that we were told wouldn't work, all the stuff that we were told was never going to happen, all the stuff that some of us, even right here in the comments, never thought would happen is happening. Europeans are discovering their own cultural and national identities again, right? We got a nut job, Javier Milei down in South America, who is scorching the earth with the most, by conventional wisdom, insane policies that are never going to work and are going to throw that nation to chaos. They're going to watch the government fall. All the things, and he's making it happen. Making it happen. All of us knew. All of us with two brain cells to rub together knew. We know what works, right? We know what worked before. We know where everything went wrong. We can present that to you in a factual case and, break it down for you. We get out the dry erase markers and a board, maybe a couple of sock puppets, all right? It's like when the Federal Reserve Act passed, and it was a very, very bad thing for the sovereignty of the individual. And then FDR came along, and he wasn't a good president. In fact, he seized all the gold assets, blah, 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 right? If we really got to break it down, we can tell you why it works. Do your intellectual gymnastics. You've had decades to do this. None of it works. We're turning it loose. We're turning it loose because we know what works. Come hell or high water, go ahead, guys. You already know the soundbite that's coming. You guys can say it along with me. We are going to go for it. Come on, guys. Everybody ready? Just warm up those vocal cords. We are going to press right through. Come on, guys. What it is? Somebody type it out. We are going to walk right through them. If it short dicks every cannibal on the Congo and hair lips every hillbilly on Buck Creek, we are going to tear it to pieces because we watched y'all. Yeah, people suckers for the truth. That's the other one, Dennis. But yeah, that's the other one. Dude, you scare me with that gangrene fingernail. It's not, bro. It's just blood, dude. It's just dried blood. Stop freaking out. Everybody sees that and they're freaking out. No, right, Nancy. Oh, I love you, sweetheart. How you doing, sis? And you're on Facebook. You're on Facebook. Good. Okay. I'm glad you're actually showing up because that's where a lot of it. I remember we had our email or our messages back and forth, and you were popping up. Sometimes when you're on, sometimes like it doesn't show up if you're on Facebook and you're not on YouTube. It doesn't show up sometimes in the comments when I'm doing it on StreamYard. But you're here, right? No critical thinking. Zero critical thinking. Yes, you are absolutely correct. Good evening, brother. Hey, man, Turtle. I'm glad you made it. It's been a quiet day with the wife, brother. You have earned it, and I'm glad that you made it out. And sis Nancy, I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you're here. Right? Thank you. Millions researching menstrual cycle or transgender mice. Right? Transgender mice. That was a three-way. That was a three-way fact check. By the way, CNN came out and said that CNN had to fact check its own fact check. When they said, no, man, nobody spent that money, and that's whatever. Doesn't matter. None of it matters. None of it matters. We know what works. We're going forward. We're going forward. Well, wait, no. We need to sit down and compromise and reach across the aisle and come to. No, stop. We're done with that. We're going to show you just as much compromise as you were willing to show us when you steamrolled over us with your vaccine mandates, when you steamrolled over us with your bad policy, when you steamrolled over us with trillions of dollars of money printed literally out of thin air. We're going to show you just that much compromise. We're going to show you the exact same amount of compromise that you were willing to show us when you were talking about taking our children away and putting us in camps because we refused to take an experimental jab. No. The time for compromise is done, my friend. And you, to your credit, you should have stepped up. You should have stepped up and built the gulags when you had the chance. Lord knows you wanted to. Lord knows you hinted at it. You should have. But your own hubris got the best of you again, didn't it? Your own hubris got the best of you again. Because we're going to be empowered no matter what. Because we'll keep spewing the lies and they'll keep believing it. And even if they don't, it doesn't matter because we've got the propaganda machine and we've got the full power of the Department of Justice behind us. And we can weaponize that and we can shut this Trump guy out. And if we're Germans, we can shut out the AFD and we're going to remove Viktor Orban from the European Union and all of these things. You guys remember the sermon that I did just a while back about we can keep the nation. If we lose the empire, we can save the nation. You guys remember that? What are we witnessing in NATO right now? What are we witnessing in NATO as it stands right now? What are we witnessing? We are watching the end of empire with regard to NATO, watching the end of empire, but the nations, the nations are coming together because they're finally having to realize, hey, wait a minute. Hey, wait a minute. Wait. We were counting on the USA, and the USA was beholden to global interests, was beholden to globalist interests, right? You want an example? I'm going to give you an example since we're all over the place and bullet points are just like not even a consideration right now. Something that Dennis, um, something that Dennis sent earlier that showed that hit just before, and I'm making it a point to go into. This happened this week. A judge in a United States court, okay, the state of Missouri, not the nation, not the United States of America, the state of Missouri, right? You know that China owns farmland all over the place, right? You know that China owned a president for the last 4 years, right? Oh, I'm sorry, he was leasing with option to buy. Anyway, the state of Missouri sued the Chinese Communist Party, right? The Chinese Communist Party didn't feel the need to show up for the court case, right? So the judge awarded the full asking price of $24 billion. And the case was all about them manipulating, falsifying, hoarding PPE, and all the other things that they did. The fact that the virus itself came from a Wuhan lab, that it was a accidental leak, but regardless of whether it was accidental or intentional, it came from a Chinese lab. They manipulated studies. They lied about the fatalities. They lied about this, that, or the other thing. 24 billion was the award. 24 billion. The judge said, yeah, you're getting your full asking price, buddy. 24 billion. Now, obviously, the Chinese, they're not going to pony up 24 billion to the state of Missouri. They're not going to do that. So what's going to happen instead? The state of Missouri is seizing every Chinese-owned asset there, not from Americans of Chinese descent, okay? Because somebody's going to come out with that. Somebody's going to. Oh, so we're all just going to take Chinese people's stuff. It'll be like putting the Japanese in internment camps, like we did in the 40s. Somebody's going to say it. You know they are, right? But the assets that are owned by the CCP in the state of Missouri, all of them are going to be seized. They're all going to be seized. That includes the farmland. That's a big thing. That's a big thing. And not only is it a big thing, it's a big win. And you know what I'm happy about? I'm happy that we've got a president in office whose first instinct after this award isn't going to be to come to the defense of China. Because we all know good and well, if this thing would have happened with that cadaver or the cackling Jezebel, had, God forbid, she'd been elected, with either one of them in the White House, the first thing would have been, this is an outrage, and this state is way overstepping its authority, and they would have defended that you have no right to seize Chinese assets as a state. Only we, as the federal government, have the right to do that, and we're not going to do it. Just like when Arizona and Texas went about enforcing border law, right? What did the regime do? You can't do that. That's our job. Really? Well, do it then. No. Oh, things got quite twisted up there for a while, didn't they? Yes, indeed. Things got quite twisted up. And it looked like we were on the ragged edges, but we're making a comeback, boys and girls. This is more evidence of that comeback. What just happened in Missouri is absolutely more evidence of that comeback. And how do you not love that? How do you not love that? You don't love that if you're a Democrat. That's how you not love that. How do you not love that? You don't love that if you're a Democrat. You don't love that if you are a diehard leftist or no. You know what? Not even going to dignify it. We don't need to go any deeper. Everybody here, you already know. You already know. We're winning. We're winning. I'm going to be happy about that. I don't care. Bart, you've changed, man. We just don't know you anymore. Dude, if you don't know me anymore, you never knew me in the first place. Right? You never knew me in the first place. And I'm totally okay with that. It's not like you were coming to my funeral anyway. Okay? Okay. What have I said? 3S, man. What do I care about anymore? My faith, my family, and the fight. My faith is solid. My family, close and inside that tight little circle. And the fight is at hand, and we are moving forward. Time to start smiling like we're winning. Because we're winning. Ha! Are you feeling as good as I'm feeling about that? Are you guys feeling as good as I'm feeling when you look around the world right now and see the things that are going on? When you see the cultural revival that is taking place in European countries right now, when you see parties like the AFD, and they'll tell you the AFD is stiff arm salute crowd, and you've read their policy positions and you know better. When you see, such a beautiful woman, my goodness, even if it was just her policies, the fact that she is ridiculously hot makes it even better. But someone like Georgia Maloney, right? And you know what she's really about, and you know how they tried to sell it, and she's Mussolini with breasts and this and that and all of the other things, right? When you have seen those policies take hold, and you've seen the lies that were spewed about these people falling flat on their faces, when you see a madman like Javier Milei down there, Vargas, if you're still here, anybody who wants to speak up for Javier, man, my God, they had that man as a guest in the White House. Well, I hope so, and I hope they're getting some policy pointers. I'm hoping him and Elon are doing coffee together every single weekend, talking about how to put this thing together. That's what I'm hoping, but I'm looking at victory after victory after victory, and these nations, the fact that Romania had to do what they did to Georgescu, is it wrong and horrible that they did that thing? Yes, but the fact that they had to do that thing is reason for optimism. Does this make sense? Does this make sense to y'all? By the way, Sonny, I'm glad you made it, and see you here in a couple of days, and I'm looking forward to it, brother. The fact that they had to do that is cause for celebration. What that means is they went forward to the Romanian people and said, okay, that's who you voted for. Screw you. We're overturning the election. We're going to run it again. And the Romanian people went, cool, run it again, because we still feel the same way that we did. The fact that the European Union is going to have to actually come out and say, we're not going to let this guy run, no matter how we know he's the one you want, but you can't have him. The fact that they're having to do it out there in the light of day like that is beautiful, because that's what's going to motivate the people. It's real easy to pacify them. It's real easy to smooth things over. It's real easy when you give them that illusion, right? When you give them that illusion, well, technically we're free because we can still vote. But when you got to do it in the light of day, and you come right out and say, okay, you want to vote this, but you can't have it, at some point, man, something in that European spirit is going to say, nah, dude, no, not going to fly, Sparky, not going to fly. Something in the American spirit that we inherited from that European spirit, which is how we broke away from Britain in the first place, which is why the British people are ultimately going to break with the British government over this, if we haven't already completely emasculated them. And I pray for Britain, man. I pray for Britain with everything that they're up against. But we allowed this flood, we allowed this Muslim horde to invade our European homelands at the behest of compromise, at the best of not being a bigot, at the behest of I don't want to be thought racist. I'm tolerant and all these other things, and we are watching our daughters raped as a result of that. We are watching our sons murdered as a result of that. And eventually something in the European spirit says, you know what, screw this. The communist bloc countries, I go over this at least every couple of weeks. The communist bloc countries, they're the ones, because they know what authoritarianism looks like, and they want no part of it. But their cultural cohesion was the thing that helped them survive the scourge of communism. And they're going to lean on that again. And a big part of that, sorry for the secular folks out there, but a big part of that was in the faith. Big part of that was in the faith. The worst mistake any of these people made, the worst mistake any of these countries made, was losing that. Why do you think the communists, and again, man, am I proselytizing? Maybe. Take it however you want to take it. It's not like I don't wear it on my sleeve or anything. But the thing that held these nations together, the thing that when communist regimes and all those leaders, the Soviets in particular, after the Soviet Union fell apart, what is the one group of people that they knew they couldn't conquer? The one group of people, the one ideology that they were most terrified of, because there's nothing you can do to take that away from them. Okay, what are you going to threaten to kill a Christian? Cool. All right. Coming to see you, Lord. Go from this side. But part of that revival, one feeds the other, and you can do chicken and egg with it all day long. Is it the revival of the Christian faith and the Catholic faith coming together with the European cultural revival, or is the cultural revival feeding the return to the faith? I can tell you what my theory is, but either way, it accomplishes the same goal. They are remembering who they are. Do you understand that? Do you understand the importance of that? They are remembering who they are, just like we in America are remembering who we are. And nothing is going to take that away. Nothing is going to take that away. You're going to take that away, you're going to have to do it directly, by force, naked. What they're getting ready to have to do in Romania. You see what I'm saying? When you force them into that position where they have to do it like that, that is cause for celebration. Because what that says is their conventional means of lies, deception, falsehood, and that slow trail to hell trickery have failed. That's what that means. Damn it, we ought to feel good about that. How about y'all, man? Does it feel good to win? Huh? Somebody sound off over here in the comments. Does it feel pretty good to win? Does it feel pretty good? Okay, things are getting shook up, but does it feel pretty good to wake up in the morning and not have to worry about which part of your cultural traditions, which part of your race, which part of your nation, which part of your rights, which part of your individual sovereignty, which part of your freedom of speech, which part of your right to express yourself, which part of that gets chiseled away one day at a time? Does it not feel good to have that? I'm going to throw something else out. This is going to take me into nut job territory for a minute. Oh, I know it's way out of character for me. But has anybody looked up at the sky recently? Anybody? I say this because this is kind of a sidebar here. Anybody? I want you to pay attention when you hear a helicopter. You look up, right? You hear a helicopter. Just doesn't matter what it is. It could be a Sikorsky. It could be life flight. It could be military. You hear a helicopter, you look up, right? Look around and notice how many people don't look up anymore, first of all. But that's not what this is about. Anybody look up recently? One of the things we always notice, one thing that I always noticed, particularly since working as a ramper for Delta, I know where the air traffic routes are rolling. I know where the commercial flights are headed. And when you see that big, not disappearing contrail, the thing that doesn't exist, the chemtrails that we're not allowed to talk about. Anybody notice lately? What do y'all notice lately? More to the point, what do you not notice lately? Anybody else know that? Anybody else notice that? I can't remember the last time I looked up in the sky and thought, wow, the chemtrails are heavy today. I can't remember the last time that I looked up in the sky and saw 8 of them crisscrossing and just hanging there. I can't remember the last time I looked up and saw that. Yeah, it's strange. I guess it must be a weather thing. Since, of course, it's not actual chemtrails, it's just weather phenomenon and totally naturally occurring and just regular contrails that just, it's atmospheric conditions, got nothing to do with anything else. I guess the atmospheric conditions must have been different since, say, January. Anybody else notice? Yeah. Yeah, those aren't chemtrails. That's a conspiracy. Just aliens cutting lines of space. Go, yeah, you're on, Vargas. You're on. You're definitely on. But did anybody else notice? Anybody else notice? I noticed. Feels pretty good, doesn't it? Feels pretty good. When we all knew, like we went over in this program before, like we all knew all of our conspiracy theories, right? Like we went over in the program. How is it that these media outlets who are dependent on sponsor money are supporting these ideas? Where are they getting their money? If they know that public opinion is against these things and they keep putting out this woke stuff, where are they getting their money? Something else has to be going on here. And now the USA thing came out. Boom. And now we know. How is it that conservative voices were getting suppressed when who was in charge at Twitter? When what's his name and the Vijaya, whatever, yeah, that when they were in charge over at Twitter, how's it? We knew that conservative voices were getting suppressed, but of course, conspiracy theory until Elon bought it, and now we get the Twitter files, and all of that came out. We were right all along. We knew that we were right all along, and now it's all coming out that we were right all along. The intellectual gymnastics that these people are having to do, to continue to sustain this insanity. Thank you. And thank you. Yes, intellectual gymnastics people are having to do to sustain this insanity is now giving way to this, and they are choking on it. They are choking on it. And that feels good too, doesn't it? Doesn't it? I say all that to say this, man. This is 5 years today. Today is 5 years. Yes, I did the one-offs every now and then. I did a couple, like dip my toe in the pond and rant and rave for a couple of minutes. But when I finally decided back in March 2020 that, you know what, man, and again, it was therapy for me. I looked at all the things that we were up against, all of the things that we were up against, the cultural, we were losing hard in the cultural battle, man. Trump got us back for a few years, and Trump was starting to win me over, right? By that third or fourth year, the man was starting to win me over. You guys remember, I wasn't a supporter. Didn't vote for the guy because I believed a lot of the stuff. I really did. Jake will tell you. Jake, jump in here. You know good and well, because Jake was like, Trump's going to win. And I was like, dude, they're never going to let the guy take the one. I was not a believer, man. I was not a believer. But when I started this thing off in 2020, we were right at the beginning of the pandemic. And that's when I saw things starting to unravel. That first year, watching all of the things, watching the left build that momentum and claw back all of the things back to the deep state that had been taken from them over the previous 3 to 4 years with Donald Trump. They were starting to pull it all back, and they were pulling it all back, and they were reaching, man. They were reaching hard, culminating in them hijacking an election in 2020. But that whole year, bro, cities on flame. Right, sorry, man. I had a Blue Oyster Cult moment. Down, down, down. Cities on flame over a dead fentanyl addict. No, that was not the lyric. In any case, cities on fire, man, for a whole year. Tearing down statues, removing all of these things, this historical elements. This is what conquering people come to do, right? And all of those things that we're finally seeing start to pull back with Trump, all of the strength of the West, all of the historical traditions, the pride in the nation, the pride in the culture, the pride in all these things that we're finally starting to pull back. And that all came unraveled that first year, man. And I look back, here we are 5 years later, man, 5 years later, and I look where we are. And there is no, Trump's in the White House again, ain't no BLM in the street. Ain't no Antifa maggots in the street right now. Don't see any of that, do you? Are they still out there? Are they hanging back? Are they still out there? Yeah, I'll bet your ass, dude. They haven't gone away, but they're not going to have the effect anymore. Do you understand? They don't have the momentum behind them. They don't have the cultural momentum behind them. They don't have the government behind them, right? Well, you said Trump was in the White. That's not what I'm talking about. I didn't say the state. I said the government. Do you understand? Let's draw the distinction. The deep state pushing one agenda, and what the government does, we see that there can be a distinction in that when you actually have a government that is put in place by the people. Do you understand the importance of how that ties into the European situation right now? What's going on in Romania? What's going on with the AfD? Why the EU has to lock it down? Why the EU is putting pressure on Orban and calling him a Nazi? And why putting pressure on Meloni and calling her a fascist and all these other things? It's what the people actually want to happen. So you have to paint that in the most negative light possible. And it's failing. It's failing. Do you get that? Do you get that? Everything that they did fails. In 2020, a lot of people got really, really depressed when they were able to snake that election. A lot of people got really, really depressed. And what was the thing that I said? Sonny, if you're still there, you can remember because we had this discussion face to face about it. Everything came together perfectly for them to be able to do that. Everything. The COVID pandemic, the fact that they were able to change election laws, the fact that they were able to do all these things that they were able to do to manipulate and get these things in place, and 81 million votes appearing out of nowhere, all this stuff. They did all of these things. Everything came together perfectly, and they were still barely able to squeeze it out. They would not be able to do that again, and we're seeing it now. They couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. Wasn't for lack of trying, but they can't do it anymore. We are winning. And the only thing that is going to short dick us now is if we fail to seize the initiative. Dude, you're just going to kick them when they're down? Yeah. I'm not going to kick them when they're down. I'm going to go straight American History X, son. Put your mouth on the curb. Say goodnight. And we are fools if we don't capitalize on that. Absolute fools if we do not capitalize on that. You saw the lesson that they tried to teach us, the price that they tried to make us pay for having the temerity, the audacity, the unmitigated gall to vote how we wanted in 2016. They made us pay for that for 4 years. What do you think they're going to be willing to do after we elected him again? If they are ever allowed to seize the mantle of power again, what do you think that they're going to be willing to do? And what do you think the globalists who enabled them to do this in the first place are going to be willing to do to you and I and every single one of us? Particularly those of you who are walking in the faith, because as we said before, authoritarian regimes fear faithful in a way that they fear no other thing, because there's nothing that you can take away from us. Do you understand? Nothing. What's that? Coming down the pipe from a few miles away. Brian, I will check that out. I can't dip off and watch that right now, but I'll definitely check it out. That's why they lost it when they lost Twitter. Yeah, Roman, one of the big four. Yeah, yep. These are the things. Getting back to and I think Joey has sent me something in a private message. I'll check that out when I get out of here. In any case, run this again. The Ukraine narrative and the Democratic Party. All of these things this is all coming apart. I don't need to rehash anything about Ukraine. We already know. I posted something to my main Facebook page, and you guys can go check that out, about a legitimate timeline. Matt Taibbi nails it, and he brings the receipts, and he takes it all the way back to the 90s, man. He takes it all the way back to the 90s when this thing really kicked off, and really brings it into gear after Maidan in 2014, right? Put all this together. It's right there. The people who are gonna, oh, Blue Oyster Cult video. Oh, legit, Brian. Thank you for that. Right on, man. Right on. Still love me some BOC, man. Still love me some BOC. In any case, I don't need to rehash it, man. All of you who are here, you know. All the people who are still reveling in the establishment narrative, they're never going to be convinced. There's no reaching them. Screw bipartisanship. Screw compromise. Stop talking. Stop talking. You're wasting your breath. Like teaching a pig to dance. Waste your time and pisses off the pig. Why? Why bother? Why bother? How about we just move forward and do the stuff that we need to do? And what does that mean? That means that the government's got to do its part. Elon is doing a wonderful job right now, getting in, carving out the waste, all the things. Every hateful thing that they say about him is because he's hitting them where it hurts. All the ways that they were using our own money against us, they don't have that at their disposal anymore. That means they're done. Can't stand it. You're not going to be able to sell it. They've got no message. They've got no policy. Everything for the last, since 2016 at least, has just been we hate Trump. That's it. That's not going to sell anymore. And the American people, they freaking love the man. They love the man. What do you got left to do? Kill him? You know, you tried twice. You failed, Sparky. Game's not over yet. Will the deep state lash out? Sure. But they're running out of space and they're running out of opportunity. This Ukraine thing, it's done. Nobody in Europe, they've spent the last 20 years telling every citizen of Europe, telling every one of us Western men that nationalism was stupid. Patriotism was stupid. This pale ass complexion, this white skin, and European blood and colonialism was responsible for all the ills of the world. That to be proud of anything as a white European man was stupid and bigoted and hateful. And now they want their sons to go off and fight for Ukraine. Good luck with that. Not going to happen. They shot themselves in the foot, figuratively and literally. It's done. And because of that, that narrative is collapsing. The anti-Western, anti-European sentiment is all collapsing. Because they see what the alternative is. They see how far diversity has got. Diversity is our strength. Diversity is our strength. Diversity is our strength. That emanates from anybody's maw. Know immediately you are not dealing with a serious human being. Hit them with one word. How? Hit them with another word. Why? Watch them try to explain it. They've seen where diversity and multiculturalism gets them. They've had it. It's fallen apart. Nationalism is on the uprise. Cultural pride is on the upswing. We are taking it back. And here, more than anywhere else in the world, we're taking it back. If that frightens you, it probably should. Because if that frightens you, that means that what you were behind is every bit of weakness, depravity, degeneracy, sickness, and evil that got us to this point to begin with. If that frightens you because you see cutting the cock off a healthy 13-year-old boy as health care, I'm glad that it frightens you. And I look forward to seeing you across the barricade one day, Sparky. If that bothers you because you think you need to put on a red dress and act like the Handmaid's Tale because you can only electively murder your baby in 47 states now, I'm glad that it frightens you. There's no compromise anymore. We are taking it back. By the grace of God, we have been given an opportunity to snatch this back from the jaws of our imminent demise. And I'm going to say this, and I don't care how you feel about it. Looking at that and the gift, the enormity of the gift that was, and everything that's at stake, if we fail to seize the initiative in this historical moment, it is literally pissing in the face of Christ. Whoa. Did he really do? Yes. Yes. Now, maybe you've got that kind of confidence. To that, I can only say, vaya con Dios, my friend. But the Ukraine narrative is ending, and with it, the Democratic Party, and with it, the anti-Western sentiment falling apart. It's all going. It's all going. We are living through nothing less than a turning point and a revival. And I, for one, am totally here for it. You guys remember the 300, right? The 300 Spartans that stood their ground at Thermopylae. Yeah? You remember? Here's the 300 that you might not remember. 300 Spaniards at the Battle of Buda. You guys remember that? Probably not. But they took back, and I want you to see, just go, I'm not going to do a deep dive on it here. Google the Siege of Buda. 300 Spaniards after the Ottoman Turks and the Ottoman Empire had done all the horrible things that they had done of Europe for centuries. 300 took on a Turkish fortress. Do you understand that? We know about the 300 Spartans, and a lot of people tried to say that was a defense of Western colonialism because of the Greeks or what the hell ever. But that's another 300 that's worth looking at. I bring that up in relation to the Crusades because everybody wants to say that the minute we get into talking about that cultural upheaval. Oh, well, we're right back to the Crusades again. Yeah, we are. Because the Crusades happened not just with the Siege of Buda, that's tangentially connected, but 300 Spaniards taking a Turkish fortress and taking it back from the Ottoman Turks. You guys look that up. The Crusades happened because we had endured hundreds of years of Muslim atrocities. It took us centuries because European and Western thought, traditionally, culturally, were very slow to anger. Like the God that we worship, like the God that our faith is anchored in, we are very slow to anger. But once you have incurred that wrath, you will rue the day that you were born. We tolerated Muslim incursion and Muslim atrocity for centuries, and finally, well, Joey, in answer to your question, that's nobody's business but the Turks, and we move on. We endured centuries, Muslim occupation, Muslim incursion, Muslim atrocity, and finally, we were asked by our own people in Jerusalem to intervene. And we went in and we did what we do. It didn't take centuries this time. It's taken mere decades. And that revival is taking root again. It's time for another crusade. It's time for us to remind the world what we have given it. There are two bloodlines and cultures in the history of the world that have created enduring civilizations. North Asians, specifically the Chinese, and the West. That's it. It is time to remind the rest of the world, the glories of the West, and what we have given the world. It is time to renew our faith. It is time to renew our strength. It is time to renew the value that we place on ourselves and our culture and our people and the strength of our faith in our God. That disturbs a lot of people. And again, good, good, good. Because nothing else was going to save it. Half measures don't work in the face of people who are evil by their very nature. Half measures don't work on cultures that are bent on your death. You cannot coexist with people who want you dead. Do you understand? We would not have wanted this. We would not have wanted this. But I'm glad this came up because I'm going to read that. I'm going to read that. I'm going to read that to close. When you want to talk about the strength of civilization, the strength of faith, and the strength of bloodlines, and the strength of culture. Two things that I want to close on. You guys remember was it last week? Yes, it was last week. And I put the thing because it was the 10th anniversary of the 21 Coptic Christians. Somebody hit me up. I'm not going to say who. Somebody hit me up and they were like, "Hey man, I know you're like really big on the history and I know, this is a thing for your faith and I know how much that means to you, man. I wanted to throw this at you because it'll give you some perspective on exactly how powerful that moment was." 21 Coptic Christians, man, they were pulled out of, they worked the mines, right? They worked the mines. And Jihad Johnny pulled them out, 21 of them. And they were tortured and they were beaten for days and told that if they renounced their faith, that it could all stop. That if they renounced their faith, they could be allowed to live. And that's 21 that all wound up being beheaded. And 21 that maintained their faith until the very last moment. Somebody hit me up with something. I'm kind of ashamed of myself for not knowing this, but I'm glad that I know it now, because it makes the story that much more powerful. One of those Christians, $20 of them were Egyptians, and one was a young man by the name of Matthew Ayariga. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He was from Ghana, and he worked the mines. He worked the mines with these 20 Egyptians. And when Jihad Johnny came and drug them all out, Matthew was not a practicing Christian. Jihad Johnny didn't know that, and he tortured and beat this guy just the same. And this kid Matthew from Ghana, who just worked the mines with these 20, the day before they were going to drag him out on the beach and cut off their heads, somebody finally clicked. They said, "Hey, you're not a Christian, man. You're not a Christian. You're free to go." And Matthew was so moved because the whole time they were being beaten and tortured, they were singing hymns of praise and they were praying together and rejoicing. And they even prayed for their captors. And this kid from Ghana was so moved. This kid from Ghana was so moved by what he witnessed from these 20 men who were looking at their own death, who were staring. And I don't mean like a happy go in your sleep kind of death. We're talking about being beheaded by way of you having your throat cut. They start from here and work their way back through the spine. It is if you have ever witnessed a video of this thing happening, it is a gruesome, horrible way to die. And they told this kid from Ghana he was free to go. And he was so moved by the strength of these men. And they're rejoicing in the face of this imminent execution that he said, their God is my God. Their God is my God, and I will die with them. And he converted on the spot. And he became the 21st of the 21 martyrs. They drug him out that morning on the beach. I don't know when ISIS came up with a PR department. It was a pretty brilliant move for them. When they drug him out on the beach that morning to behead them. And I'm gonna just so you people know what you're dealing with here. Just so you know what you're dealing with here, the people with your coexist bumper stickers. This was the leader, Al Hayat, Islamic Jihad multi-language media organization. Caption in the video called the captives people of the cross, followers of the hostile Egyptian church. Leader was dressed in camouflage while the other terrorists were dressed in black. The victims were all dressed in orange jumpsuits, as in many other beheading videos. The leader declared in North American English, this is for all you people with your coexist bumper stickers and your diversity is our strength and tolerance and no hate, no fear, refugees are welcome here. This is the leader declared in North American English, all praise is due to Allah, the strong and mighty, and may blessings and peace be upon the one sent by the sword as a mercy to the world. Old people recently you've seen on the hills of Al-Sham, which is Syria, by the way. And on Darby's Plain, chopping off the heads that had been carrying the cross delusion for a long time, filled with spite against Islam and Muslims. And today we're on the south of Rome, the land of Islam. Libya is sending another message. Oh, Crusaders, safety for you will be only wishes, especially when you're fighting us all together. Therefore, we will fight you all together until the war lays down its burdens and Jesus will descend, breaking the cross, killing the swine, and abolishing you. And the sea where you've hidden Sheikh Osama bin Laden's body, we swear to Allah, we will mix it with your blood. Charming fella. They put these 20 men out there, including young Matthew from Ghana. And they went down the line, one right after the other, and gave every one of them one final chance. Renounce your faith and you can live. No. Praise God. Praise God. My heart is with Christ. And they cut off their head. And they went to the next guy. Renounce your faith and you may live. And he refused. And they cut off his head. What is it? There was some they supplicate, yes, something in Arabic that they put at the bottom of the video. They supplicate what they worship and die upon their paganism, saying that they had been given a chance to convert to Islam but refused it. And the way the tale goes, was that Matthew from Ghana was the last to die. This young man was so moved. This is why I get really upset with a lot of you milquetoast Christians out there, a lot of you half-ass I'm Jesus but not like that crowd. That's why I get so angry, man. So angry. For folks like us who know better, or damn well should know better, that can't find the stones to maybe toss that hippie Jesus thing and maybe get behind some chasing the money lenders out of the temple table flipping Jesus thing. I bring not peace but a sword Jesus thing. You know what these people are capable of, or you damn well should. And yet you half-ass it and you preach this tolerance and you preach this. This young man didn't have to die. He was not one of them, and he was so moved by the strength of these people's courage in the face of an imminent, horrible death that he said, their God is my God, and I will die with them. You think about the strength of that. Those people who seek the undoing of the West, those people who seek the undoing of Christendom, those people who, even on a superficial and local level, seek the undoing of the United States, you think about the strength of that faith, and you will know why every authoritarian regime is so damned afraid of it. Because what do you take from someone with that level of faith? The Muslims have that level of faith. That is the enemy, and they are sworn to our imminent demise. They have it. Authoritarian regimes the world over, and indeed the Islamic faith itself, fears that level of faith with Christianity, because there's nothing you can take. There's nothing you can threaten. There's nothing you can will to deprive. There's nothing you can chat. There's nothing. So for all the enemies of the West, for all the enemies of Christendom who seek to undermine it, that's why you're afraid of the faith. And you should be. And that's why when you see that level of revival, and when you see that revival of that faith rising again in the European people, that's where it really ties, because Christianity is an Abrahamic religion. It is not European by nature. Oops. It's a religion of colonialism. It's not a European religion, Sparky. It's an Abrahamic religion. But it's been advanced through the peoples of Europe, and they have faith in a carpenter that died, scourged, tortured, and murdered on a cross. And that faith held together Western civilization in one incarnation or another, whether it was Catholicism, whether it was Christianity, it was Christ. It was the carpenter. It was the boss man and the carpenter at the root of that, and the Spirit filling the people who defended it. Whether it was the Europeans that charged into the Holy Land on the Crusades, whether it was the 300 Spaniards, the siege at Buda that took the Ottoman Turks in their stronghold. When you have that faith at the root of European cultural standard, of European cultural strength, woe betide anybody who opposes that. That kid from Ghana, he wasn't European. Those Egyptians, they weren't European. Don't care where you're from. You embrace the will of the boss man and the carpenter. You speak moved by the Spirit. You are my brother in Christ. So what I'm saying about the European culture is not exclusionary. I speak that only for the sake of stating that we will not be stopped and we will not be put down and we will not roll over anymore and be our own instruments in our own demise. We're done with that. There is a revival happening right now, and that faith is at the center of it. Whether you share that faith or not, it's cool. I still embrace you as a brother. If you stand for the West and you stand for Western civilization and European cultural tradition, I will embrace you as a brother regardless. You don't have to walk in the faith. You can be Asatru, as I was for 30 years. You can be evangelical atheist. I will still embrace you as a brother as long as you are willing to stand for the defense of the West. But when you have that faith at the root as your spiritual anchor and you are defending the interests of the West, we would not have picked this fight. We would not have chosen this fight. We would much rather have been left to our own legitimate cultural interests, our own legitimate cultural interests. What does that mean exactly? It means self-defense, self-determination, and self-preservation. But since you have chosen to take it to this level, and since you have left us with no alternative, and you brought it to the field, I'm going to leave you with the words of one Mr. Rudyard Kipling. Was not part of their blood, came to them very late, with long arrears to make good when the Saxon began to hate. They were not easily moved. They were icy, willing to wait till every count should be proved ere the Saxon began to hate. Their voices were even and low, their eyes level and straight, and there was neither sign nor show when the Saxon began to hate. Was not preached to the crowd. It was not taught by the state. And no man spoke it aloud when the Saxon began to hate. It was not suddenly bred, and it will not swiftly abate through the chilled years ahead, when time shall count from the date that the Saxon began to hate. This is what you want. This is what you get. I would have far preferred it not come to that. But that was not a choice that we were allowed. And now that you have made the choice, make your peace with whatever God you wish. And we, anchored in that faith, leaning on the strength of the boss man, the carpenter, and the spirit, we will see you across the barricades. I am the Reverend, and that is the gospel. I love y'all. Don't take that little downturn at the end as anything but what it is. That is just putting gravity to what I'm saying to you. I am rejoicing on the inside like you wouldn't believe. I am completely at peace with everything that comes from now until the last breath I draw on this planet. I am walking I am walking in the light of truth. I know who my circle are. And George, that's beautiful, bro. George, that's absolutely beautiful. Did you guys see that? Let's see if I can click on. I'm having some trouble here. Hang on. Heavenly Father, give me the strength to die well for Jesus. Amen. Amen. Like I said, there are a lot of people right now that they get bothered by that. Oh, that sounds really, that sounds kind of scary. If it bothers you, it should. If it bothers you, it should. We won't shirk from it. We won't shirk from it because we've got no need to. Got no need to. We are in the right. People that urge half measures and compromise are always the ones who are negotiating from a position of weakness. Remember that. I carry no shame for my blood or my people or my civilization or any of the things that were bequeathed to me by far better men than myself. Far, far better men than myself. And I refuse to piss on their memory and the great things that they accomplished by letting usurpers, treacherous vipers of all stripes convince me these were evil. Don't apologize for the actions of your forebears. And don't ever let people whose openly stated position is wanting you dead to determine how you see yourself and your people and your blood and your culture. Enough of this weakness, man. You can say whatever you want about me. You can say whatever you want about the faith. It doesn't disturb me anymore because there's nothing more to be said. There are only things to be done. And the things that need to be done involve taking back what was A, unrighteously taken from us, and B, what was all too easily given away by weaker spirits who didn't have the courage. Enough is enough. We're taking it back now. Feel about that however you wish. But we're going to keep walking it day after day. And the only resort that you have to postpone that game plan is to take our life. And you can only do that once. God help you. Whatever God that happens to be for you. I'm going to pray us out of here. Wow. Lord God, I'm thankful when I hear stories like what we heard about that kid from Ghana. Just when I hear about that level of faith. My brother in Christ, George, talking about may we all die well for Christ. You know, I had have a similar prayer about on the appointed day. May I fight with valor, and if it is my fate, die with honor. But it's time for the kingdom, Lord. It's time for the kingdom. Is that a hill you're willing to die on? It absolutely is. It absolutely is. Because once upon a time, a certain carpenter died on a hill for me. In the most horrible way you can imagine. I'm thankful for the revival that I see. I'm thankful for people finding their way to the light. I'm thankful for people realizing the greatness that is innate to our people and our civilization. I'm thankful for people finally being willing to speak truth. It seems so simple, but we were so far removed from it for so long. But God, I'm thankful for you putting the people in my path that you have. I'm thankful for you bringing me back to the cross way late in the game. Way late in the game, Lord, just before the fight, but you brought me home. And Lord, what I want to do now is pay that forward. I want to touch hearts. I want to touch minds. I want to pull scales from eyes, and I want to bring your children home. I want to evangelize by example. I want to show people that there is a strength. There is a strength in faith. I want to show people that there is a peace in faith. I want to show people that they don't have to be afraid anymore. I want to show people that they don't have to be ashamed anymore. I want to show people that their debt is paid, that the Nazarene died on a cross, scourged, tortured, and murdered, butchered, scourged, ripped, horribly disfigured. He died in one of the most horrible ways that mankind could possibly contemplate to pay that debt. To pay that debt. If we would but believe. It's not in our works. There is no amount of good I could do for the rest of my natural life that will pay for what's in me by my very nature. Carpenter paid that price. If we would but believe. I wish to be a better man. I wish to be a better coach. I wish to be a better teacher. I wish to be a better speaker of that word. And rise to that calling and anointing to be able to bring some people home, to be able to show them it doesn't have to be like this. Doesn't have to be like this. There is strength in faith, Lord. Strength in faith. And everybody who is here, everybody who's been here for the last several years has seen this come together in me. And I hope that that can be some kind of example for them. How you bring them home, not for myself, not to aggrandize myself. I haven't gotten near that level of ego or confidence for the kingdom. I want these guys to realize that any great thing that I've ever done is yours. Anything that I've ever said that touched them well is yours. Everything that I've ever done that is worthy of recognition is yours. I'm nothing. Nihil sine Deo, nothing without God. Nihil sine Deo. I am just a vessel. But Lord God, I ask that you help me to be the best vessel I could be to get that message across, because there are people out there that are hurting, and there are people out there that are waiting, and there are people out there that are trapped in their own trepidation about how to move forward. And it doesn't have to be like that. Help me to bring them home. Let them know that they can come home, that you want them to come home, that you will leave that other 99 to go look for the one. You did with me. You did with me, and I'll never forget it. Help me to get that across to anyone out there who may be waiting and hurting, Lord. I just want to serve. Omni ad regnum, all things for the kingdom, Lord. I pray in the name of the risen Christ, whose blood bought that redemption, paid in full. We are washed in that blood, we are redeemed. It is in his name I pray, and it is the kingdom I ever serve, my high tower, my deliverer, my fortress, my hiding place, King of kings, Lord of lords. It is in Jesus Christ's name, the name of the Nazarene, that I come before you in prayer, and the kingdom that I ever serve. Amen. I love y'all. Thank you for sharing, man. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing the last 5 years, man. I started off just some nut job trying to make peace with everything that was going on in the world. And now it's all coming together. Now we're all moving forward, and we're in a much better place. Much better place. Spiritually speaking, physically speaking, historically speaking, culturally speaking, we are in a better place. I know I'm in a better place. If any of y'all out there are hurting, I will keep you in my prayers. I will offer whatever I can to help it be a moment where you can come home. God dragged me out of the darkness, man. Carpenter dragged me out of the darkness. Called me out for a coward, and then dragged me out of the darkness. And send me right back in to get whoever else is there. Come home, man. Come home. This ain't about doing good things. This ain't about earning brownie points with everything. There's nothing any of us could do to earn any of that. It's not about that. It's about a love and a sacrifice that was given willingly and voluntarily. Come home. Come home. Speak his name. Call on his strength, not your own. Trust me, I spent many years with that. Call on his strength and come home. Tick tock, tick tock. Time's getting short, y'all. Ain't nothing to play around with. Not at this stage of the game. I love y'all, man. You guys want to kick down? That's great. You guys already know that past that digital collection played around. I'm on Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, all the other yada yada yada, whatever. I'm on all that. And if you want to throw something, that's cool. It's totally cool, and I would really appreciate it. Believe me, guys, I'm not trying to sell it short, and I don't want to come off like an ingrate. You guys that do take care, I really, really do appreciate it. I absolutely do. But I understand, man. Look, not everybody can, and that's cool. But I'll tell you what you can do. You can share the program. You got your own Facebook page or whatever. You want to tell somebody about it. Hey, man, bring it on home. Here's what else you can do. Not for me, but for yourself. Stone, where we going, brother? Stone, where we going? Hashtag live the three, brother. Live the three. What kind of weird cult stuff is going on there? I'll tell you what's going on there, man. That weird cult stuff is, those are the three prime directives, the three iron rules on Planet Bart. Signal and noise, rule number one. The distractions are the noise. The lies are the noise. The works of the deceiver and the enemy, those are the noise. You got to be the signal. What is the signal? The signal is truth. The signal is speaking truth in clarity, unequivocally, and without fear. That's what the signal is. You got to be the signal in a world full of noise. What about light in the darkness, man? The darkness, again, cloud in the judgment, all that confusion, all the lies, all the deceptions, all the treachery, all the meaningless distractions. They will try to bury you with the darkness, man. Dehumanize, demoralize, emasculate you with the darkness. Make you think there's nothing left but darkness. You have got to be the light. What does that mean? It means you got to be the light that punches through to the other side of the darkness so other people can see. And sometimes in a long fog of darkness, it means having the endurance to carry that light through to the other side and show people what can be in the world. That's light in the darkness. But above anything else, the most important rule, the iron rule, strength in a world full of weakness. Strength. And I'm not talking this kind of strength, yeah, it's important. But it can't just be here or here or here. It's got to be here and indeed here. Because without strength, none of the rest of it matters. Why is that important? Because without strength, you won't be able to punch that signal through the noise. You won't be able to have the courage it takes to punch that signal through the noise and beat out the distractions. Without strength, you won't be able to carry that light through the darkness, and you won't have the courage to speak truth without that strength. So strength above all, everything else. Because without strength, you got nothing. And when you pray, strength, clarity, and discernment always. You can be the strongest thing in the world, but the deceiver and the father of lies is always going to try to trip you up. Whether it's through the darkness or whether it's through the noise, he's always going to trip you up and mess up your light and mess up your signal. Strength, clarity, discernment, always. Take care of yourselves, man. Take care of each other. Remember, Boss Man's got the plan. Carpenter's got your back. Spirit is ready to speak through you. We will carry the fight to the enemy. We will see him across the barricade. I love each and every one of y'all. God bless you all. God bless you all. See you next Sunday.